So Rachel, how was it yesterday with the tornado or whatever?
Wait, there was a
Yeah.
tornado near you?
There was a hurricane.
Oh,
We had a legit hurricane yesterday. Like most of Houston doesn't have power again.
really?
Like here's Texas coast, and it's
Hmm.
supposed to hit like South Texas, and then it goes, and then like hit Houston dead on. Like literally, the eye of the hurricane went over my house. So I saw this funny
Oh,
thing that said Houstonians are using like the Whataburger app to determine which areas of Houston do and don't have power.
That's so funny. Have you seen that video about like what Texans know that nobody else knows? And then they were like all that you can get Whataburger.
Let's see if this is gonna work.
And they're
yeah.
like, well,
So
what's
here's
so
a
great?
Whataburger app, and you can see which ones are lit up. So these are the areas of town that have power.
Well, when it comes to survival of the fittest, Texans have it down.
Yes, indeed. All we need is Whataburger. This post on X going viral after user BBQ Brian shared his way of tracking the power outages in Houston. See, CenterPoint Energy doesn't have an outage map for customers to show, but Whataburger has an app showing you which locations are open, letting people track where there's power in the area and where there's not power.
And they were like, well, what's so great about Whataburger? And they were like, what's not so great about it?
Yes, Texas. Whataburger is, well, we also love Chick-fil-A, but that's like our like in and out.
Yeah.
Like we are proud of Whataburger, like we're proud of HEB, we're proud of Buc-ee's. Like these are like Texas brands.
On today's episode of Getting Down to Business, we are examining 5 things they don't teach you in dental school. Dentists are taught all about patient care, using technology, and how to practice dentistry. So when dentists step into practice ownership, they often find themselves overwhelmed and as these reluctant entrepreneurs with a long list of responsibilities that weren't taught during their education. It's important to know what to expect, and also that going it alone is not something we recommend here at Hindley Bergmeyer Group. Even if you aren't working with us, we do encourage our dental clients to work with somebody to help them with doing the daily business things that will ensure your practice is thriving and growing. So let's go ahead and start today's episode. Let's get down to business, and let's learn what we can to help our dental clients.
Dentists aren't really taught how to be entrepreneurs. They're not really taught business acumen. They're taught patient care. And so I wanted to just kind of fill in some of the dental school gaps, starting with practice valuations and transition planning. So,
Yeah, understanding and properly valuing a dental practice obviously is really important when you're interested in purchasing a dental practice. A pitfall I think would be is not getting a valuation, maybe not seeking to do a due diligence valuation. Even if you work for the seller and you think you know them so well, you have this great relationship. Always we would recommend getting a due diligence valuation. There's always something that you don't know about, and you want to go into it, with all the knowledge possible. And I would say making sure that your valuation covers multiple methods. We use multiple methods always. Sometimes the valuation calculation of those methods comes back really similar. They may be in a really tight range, and sometimes they're not, and that's for multiple reasons. Don't rely on just a percentage of revenue as your calculation for a practice's value, because you need to know that like the profitability of the practice supports the asking price. So for example, if the calculation based on price to revenue is in a great spot, nice and high, and then the calculation or the value based on the practice's profitability, those don't agree, then it's a good thing you didn't rely on revenue alone to value the practice. It's really important that multiple methods make up your combined practice value, so you can be really confident in that asking price.
we just had Cheryl on last week, and she was saying this exact same thing. I don't care if your business makes $10 billion a month of revenue or whatever she said. If your profit is zero, your business is not worth as much to me. Does that also tie into the transition planning as well? Those 2 points go hand in hand as far as how to transition into ownership.
The idea of purchasing another practice is that you're transitioning it in the same state, right? You're selling it the state that it is at the time that you sell it and they take it over. It needs to be the same. So you want to make sure that just because you're in the transition process, that you don't let it decline during that process. That's what the buyer is buying, right? Like they're buying your practice as is. So you have to continue to support that through the transition process.
And on the buyer's side of things, because that's the seller side of things, on the buyer side of things, making sure that you understand there's going to be a period of transition. And you as a buyer, if you're coming in from corporate or if you're coming in from working at a small practice or whatever, and you're coming in to this practice as an owner, you may not be able to produce at the same rate as the selling doctor. Once you get, the rhythm and you get to understand how the office procedures and how that works with scheduling and the procedures and the seller mentoring you in the practice, then you can probably you may be able to maintain the same production, but just know that it's kind of going to dip a little bit at the beginning just because you're trying to get used to everything. All dentists that are trying to purchase, whether it's a startup or if it is a practice already generating, they all have a vision of what they want their practice to be like. I mean, they probably dream about it at night. Like, I belong to so many dental groups on social media, and they all have these just great practices. They show procedures and videos on, online on how they're doing these, great implants, or they're doing the latest and greatest in technology, and they're doing all of these things. I mean, these people who went to dental school, that's their calling. I mean, that's really their passion of what they want to do. So they have these grand dreams. And just know that one day that dream will become a reality. It's not going to happen on the date of closing.
It's like when you buy a new house and it wasn't your house from the day it was built, so you didn't get to pick the light fixtures and the paint color and things like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to make it all look just like what I want. But maybe you can't do it all on day one.
The next thing they don't really teach you, and then we're also going to get into financial management and accounting as we go on, but the business management itself, the operations, the dental school. I've never been to dental school, let me just say, but it's not going to really be all about effective management of a dental practice and how to manage a staff and scheduling and patient retention strategies.
Well, and the other thing is like when we talk about our CPA firm, we actually call our CPA firm a practice. And the reason why we call it a practice is because we're practicing accounting. We don't just know all the answers all the time. Like when somebody brings us a tax situation that is, complicated or whatever, we can't just spill out like, this is the answer. This is what you should do. We have to look at a situation and we have to research it and we have to implement it, and then we have to see if there's any consequences to that. And dentists are practicing dentistry, so they have to educate themselves and continue to educate themselves on all of the new techniques that are being done, all of the new technology that's coming out. I mean, so they have to stay on top of that stuff too, so that they can stay competitive in the market. Because right now, like just in Albuquerque, we're saturated with dentists. I mean, dentists are like right next to each other that are general dentists that compete for the same patients. And so continuing education is a really big thing. So they have to also think about that, not just managing their practice, but staying up to date on all their continuing education, and then also offering their staff continuing education, because the staff needs to know all the updated ways to do x-rays or the updated ways to clean teeth and, those kinds of things. So
we could also argue that what you're saying is part of patient retention strategies, because if they are not staying up to date and their customers are going, yeah, I don't know about this.
The one next door offers like teeth whitening and all these other
Yeah.
things, and you don't offer any of that.
So back to the thing. So OSHA is also a big part of dentistry, and you have to, you have to follow OSHA guidelines and, that kind of stuff. You have to have them come in and show you all of these things and be certified at OSHA. And anytime that they update you or they have updated rules and regulations, you have to redo them and recertify for them and all of the stuff. So, I mean, there are a lot of clinical things that you have to do anyway, but that's on top of managing your practice.
It seems quite likely that if a dentist takes over a practice and there's been a very consistent flow of regular patients, it's quite possible that those patients, no fault of the dentist, are going to feel like they want to go somewhere else because in their mind, it's just not going to be the same. Oh, I miss the old dentist and I want to go somewhere else. And they're not going to take the time. So they can't teach you in school really how to deal with that. It's like if you're getting patients dropping out when you take over a practice, that's a very real, not a very good feeling.
I would really recommend, like, a dentist who's purchasing a practice, I would really recommend them start with the relationship with their employees. Start to build that relationship with their employees, even before the patients, because the employees are the ones that see the patients most.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see my dentist every time I go to the dentist. I may just go in for hygiene. They're done with hygiene. I leave. I don't even see him unless there's something wrong. There's something more that I need, like a treatment plan or whatever. I'm really seeing that hygienist, and I'm seeing that dental assistant, and I'm seeing that front office person, and I'm seeing the scheduler and the biller. I'm seeing all those people all the time. But I'm not seeing the dentist all the time. So yes, there is a situation where there are patients that want the same dentist and they may possibly leave because of that. But a lot of times what it is it's because of the employees. Now, if an employee is with a previous dentist and they are happy, and then then there's the new dentist that purchases the practice and they're unhappy, a patient's going to see that. If you come in and you, just like Rachel said in one podcast episode where she said that her kids were really excited to see this hygienist, and when they got there, they saw a different one and they were kind of let down and they were kind of sad. You want to try your best to keep things the same, but you want to try your best to create a good environment for your staff. Also, talking with your patients. So a lot of times, like, if you streamline your processes and you have a process from when a patient comes in to when a patient leaves, and it's the same process each time. You're seeing the same people each time, and you're getting billed the right way. You're getting, everything is working the way that it should. It's really easy for the patient to go get the cleaning. It's not like the patient's going to get a surprise billing at the end of the treatment or later on in the month or whatever. You're going through the process with them. You're telling them what you think the anticipated cost is going to be. After you educate them on why they need this done. I mean, I think communication with the patient is really, really important.
Have you guys ever gone to the auto repair place and they print out like a little diagnostic and it shows like, okay, your tires are in the green, your your washer fluid is it's about, halfway. And your serpentine belt, well, that's in the red. It needs it hasn't been replaced in 2 years. So
like a procedure that I got recently was my wisdom teeth, and I still need to get 2 removed. So I got 2 removed from this side, and then I'm going to get 2 here. So there's 2 different ways he could do that. He's like, you need to get your wisdom teeth pulled. He said you could get them all at once, or you could do it one appointment and another appointment. And there's a difference with the insurance if you do them all at once or if you do one side versus the other side. And so they can do like a price comparison and say, if you do it all at once, your insurance may not cover the whole thing, and you would have a deductible of this, or you would have a copay of this. Or we could do it in segments, and then most likely your insurance will pay for most of it, and this is what the cost to you is. And so there's multiple things to think about, whether it's your own health and how you can handle having all of your wisdom teeth pulled out at once, or if you can just do, the 2 appointments and then handle it at 2 different times. So when somebody tells you that, and there's a list of reasons why he told me that I needed to do this, and it all had to do with health of my teeth, and those are things that I needed to consider for my own health. And I think that's what kind of like what dentists feel like they're doing. But when they leave it up to the hygienist, or they leave it up to somebody to talk to, their billing person to talk to a person about a treatment plan,
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's some things that get lost in communication, because
Yeah.
a person that's trying to say, well, doctor wants you to do this, this, and this, and this, and you're like, what? Why do I need that? And the doctor never talked to me about that, or the hygienist never talked to me about that, or the hygienist is not really supposed to talk to me about that, but the doctor was unavailable, but now they want to put me on this treatment plan. I think there needs to be a lot of like coordination on who's the one that just that explains or discusses the treatment plan with the patient. Why is the treatment plan needed, and how is it going to benefit the patient? And then letting the patient decide. Now, if I'm a person and I'm patient and I can't decide in the moment, and I say, well, give me a little while to decide, there should be a follow-up to that. And I think that, I don't know if they're trained to do that in dental school.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trained to be doing that, but I
Probably
think
not.
that conversation needs to come from the doctor, because a lot of times, especially with the doctor that owns the practice, I think a lot of times, you know, the doctor is the one that knows how they want this communicated to their patients. They want to be like, there is a true dividing feeling that I get when my doctor talks to me about a treatment plan than when my hygienist talks to me about the treatment plan.
And actually, to your point there, moving to the next thing, we're talking about marketing and patient acquisition. I can kind of give my 2 cents about marketing, and especially with what you're saying, the doctor needs to explain, you know, this is what I recommend because of X, Y, and Z. And I think that education can be a very powerful tool and a way to garner trust in your patient base. Something that I've noticed, again, they're not probably going to teach this in dental school, but it's important that, dentists have good search engine optimization, which we call SEO for short. Basically, I'm talking with a dentist now who took over a practice, and all of her search engine optimization was for the old doctor that she took over the practice for. So all of the links, all of the reviews, they're all tied to the previous owner. So when I did a little bit of digging, I found that her website wasn't even, if I was typing into Google, this particular dentist's, name, and I'm not getting working links because they're all from an old website that's no longer around, that's problematic for the new dentist. So it's important that the dentists have a really good way to show up in the search engines, because that's where a lot of people start their search for a dentist, is they'll type in dentist near me. And if you're not coming up first,
You're not first, you're last, Ricky
yeah,
Bobby.
the best place to hide a dead body is on the
Remember
second
when
page of
you told me
Google.
that? Remember when you told me that?
I did.
Well, no. That's
Oh.
what he says in the movie. Remember when you told me that? You're
Oh,
not
I
first,
was
you're last.
high
And he goes,
when I said
"Ah,
that,
Ricky Bobby,
What movie is
I
that?
was high when I said that."
If you ain't first, you're last.
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, you told me that day at school for career day. You came in and you said, if you ain't first, you're last.
Oh, hell, Ricky, I was high when I said that. I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all.
So, what don't they teach them in school as far as legal and regulatory compliance? Can you help us understand some of the legal aspects of running a dental practice?
The biggest one that I think is the biggest one that I feel that is the most important is staff. Employment laws are a big one, because you're most likely to get sued by an employee than a patient. sometimes employees will get you in trouble without even wanting to. And that is because you didn't follow some kind of state rule or regulation regarding, how quickly you're supposed to provide an employee's paycheck after you terminate them, or if you didn't allow them to take their sick leave that they accrued, or if you denied them sick leave when they had sick leave available, or if you didn't pay out their vacation time PTO upon termination. All an employee really has to do is fill out a Department of Workforce Solutions questionnaire, and that'll give all the ammunition that the state needs to come after you for something. We had a client a long time ago, this was years ago, that was not paying overtime. The Department of Workforce Solutions came back and said, we're gonna audit you over the last, like, I don't know, I think it was like 3 or 5 years or something like that, to see how much overtime you've paid out, to who you paid those monies out to, all that stuff. Found that they weren't doing that at all, and they owed a lot of money in overtime to a lot of people that had been terminated from years before, all of the stuff. So what the Department of Workforce Solution did is they put together an order for that company to back pay all of those employees overtime. Well, guess who had to come up with those figures? Us, because we were the accountant. We were the accounting firm. Now, at the time, we weren't the ones that handled their payroll, but we had to be the ones to do the accounting for what those overtime hours looked like and who they needed to be paid to and how they were going to be paid. It was literally thousands and thousands of dollars that had to be paid out to these employees. And then also they were fined by the state and, given
Well, they should have paid, if they weren't paying those wages, then they also weren't paying payroll tax and all the other required expenses.
And that's a really big one, is just to make sure that you're in compliance with state regulations. It's mostly state regulations because you have to comply mostly with state regulations. And if you don't have a regulation for that particular thing in the state, on the state side, then it goes to a federal side, and you have to follow the federal regulations. So I help a lot of our clients stay in compliance with those things with their staff. I also help with associateship agreements. So I look at associateship agreements. I don't do it in a capacity of a legal standpoint. So I don't look at it for legal issues or things like that, but I do look at them and help them when we have two people that are negotiating on both sides on how an employment contract is going to look like for a seller to be now an employee. So I look at those kinds of things. Another thing is that, and this is something that Cheryl or Eric could speak on, is the business structure itself. So, there are certain things that, there's certain check marks that you would have to check off if you want to be an S Corp, which I know that word is going to inspire a lot of questions maybe on who should become an S Corp, who should stay a single member LLC, who should be a partnership, who should be, just a corporation. And those are good questions that, your accountant should be involved in and helping you make, because there's tax implications for all of those different things. And you do need to decide on what you want to do or how you want to structure your business in that sense as well.
Why do you need to burn yourself out trying to learn all this stuff when you could hire somebody to do it for you, and who will also educate you along the way? But, obviously at the Hindley Bergmeyer Group, we are skilled, proficient, we have experience with these things. You're going to be in good hands if you're entrusting us to deal with these things that we've been talking about.
From my point of view, I just feel like there's a lot of dentists out there that may be, approaching ownership for the first time. They may be trying to do this on their own, and they're not very profitable. They're like, I hardly make any money. I have to work for another practice maybe just to supplement my income. That really kind of it makes me want to help them that much more. Dental practices here in Albuquerque and even the surrounding area, I mean, they should be profitable. All of them should be profitable. There's so many patients to go around. And so I think the reason why they may not be is because they're approaching it from an area of not knowing how to grow their practice or how to make it something that they can live off of. But I'm not saying you have to hire us. I mean, there are other professionals in our community that can assist you, but just hire somebody to help you to strategize how to make your practice profitable, in a sense of that you can operate in it and you can make a good living and you can support your family and have some kind of money put away for retirement. That is something that every dentist that should be their goal. And we can help you definitely with those goals.
So they shouldn't have to stay in that survival mode. They should be able to transition out into a profitable business model instead of just feeling around in the dark, right? Because we don't want them to stay in that sort of unaware of what to do, maybe this sort of unconscious incompetence of how to get things going on, how to get things really going, you know? We can
And
help
if you
them.
already have a professional, ask yourself, are they doing everything for me that I need them to do? What are my goals and are they helping me achieve those goals? If they're not helping you achieve those goals, talk to them and say, hey, I want to do these. I want to have, this is my goal. Talk to them and say, well, how can you help me? And if they say, well, we don't do that, or we can't help you that way or whatever, then start looking for someone who can. It's not you just doing the same things over and over again is what?
It's not going to produce a different result. It's going to produce
Right.
the same thing.
It's not. Yeah. So
get on our website,
Yeah.
www.henrybergmeyergroup.com, and schedule a consultation with Kelly Yardman. Or if you need evaluation, we have an expert here who specializes in all that. So it's 2024. There's really no excuse not to have somebody helping you out. You know, even if it's embarrassing or whatever. I'd rather be embarrassed for a short period of time and get where I need to go than be prideful and not ask for help.
Oh my gosh, I just read something the other day about that. It's like, if you avoid doing something that makes you embarrassed now, you'll never be in a place of mastery. Like, you have to begin somewhere. And you're gonna fall when you begin, just like walking. You know, when you walked as a baby, you fell down and you got back up and you fell down. And then you grew up and you were able to run and you were able to do things like that. And so it all has to start somewhere. And if you're afraid because you don't want to spend the money, it's not going to work. I mean, you have to be able to do that in order to gain something.
Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode of Getting Down to Business. We hope you learned something new. And if you're interested in learning more, we encourage you to go to our website, www.henleybergmeyergroup.com, and see if it makes sense for you to schedule a consultation with our team. We are committed to helping you on your journey through the dental world and mastering your own business one step at a time. So go ahead and check out our website and also take a look at the book, Getting Down to Business, available on Amazon. You can click the link in the description and pick up a copy. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell, leave a comment, let us know what you'd like us to talk about on an upcoming episode, and we will see you next time on Getting Down to Business.